He was just trying to get home. If he had refused that last ride, his mother would still be waiting for him tonight. Kevin had been on the road since sunrise, a tireless servant to the city's endless demands. His helmet felt like it had fused with his skull, a permanent weight pressing down. His back screamed with an ache that was more than physical. It was the deep, bone-weary exhaustion that sleep couldn't cure. The kind of tired that settles in your soul. The sun had long set, leaving behind the bruised purple and orange of a Nairobi evening. But for Kevin, the day wasn't over. Not yet. His fuel gauge was flooding with empty, a silent, mocking reminder of his day's earnings. His phone battery blinked a desperate red, threatening to cut him off from the world. In his pocket, a crumpled handful of notes, barely enough for supper and a little something for his mother. He pulled his Buddha to a stop near the familiar stage, the engine sputtering in protest. He killed the ignition, and the sudden silence was deafening. He leaned forward, resting his forehead against the cool handlebars, and whispered to himself, a promise more than a statement. This is my last trip. I'm done. Home was calling. The thought of his mother's smile, a warm plate of ugali, and the profound relief of simply taking off his boots was a siren song. Rest. That's all he wanted. That's when he heard it. A voice slicing through the quiet hum of the evening. Boss. One last ride. A man emerged from the shadows of a nearby building, almost a silhouette against the dim streetlights. His hood was pulled low, obscuring his face. His voice was a low murmur, careful and controlled. He was the kind of passenger riders warned each other about in their WhatsApp groups, the ones with stories that never ended well. An alarm bell, faint but insistent, rang in the back of Kevin's mind. Kevin hesitated. His entire body screamed, no! The unwritten rules of the trade were clear. Night rides, especially to secluded areas, were a gamble, a dangerous one. Every rider knew someone who knew someone, a story of a bike stolen, a rider beaten, or worse. The darkness held too many secrets, and he had seen enough of them for one day. But then, the practicalities of life pushed back, cold and sharp. He thought of the fuel he'd need for tomorrow morning, just to start this whole cycle over again. He saw his younger sister's face, her bright eyes, and the looming deadline for her school fees. He pictured the small kitchen at home, the cupboards that were a little too bare. The weight of responsibility was heavier than any helmet. That single fare could be the difference between a difficult night and a desperate one. Sawa, he said, his voice barely a whisper, the word tasting like resignation. Hop on. He didn't know that word would be his final decision. He didn't know he had just agreed to a journey with no return ticket. The road was dark. The streetlights became fewer and farther between until they disappeared completely, plunging them into an inky blackness, broken only by the single, wavering beam of his headlight. The usual city sounds faded away, replaced by an unsettling quiet, the kind that feels heavy and watchful. The air grew colder. Kevin gripped the handlebars tighter, a knot of unease tightening in his stomach. This didn't feel right. Halfway to the supposed destination, he felt it, a sudden, shocking, cold, hard metal pressing firmly into his side, just above his hip. It was unmistakable. Usipige kelele, the voice behind him warned. No longer a low murmur, but a sharp, menacing hiss. Asterisk, don't you dare scream. His heart detonated in his chest, a frantic, hammering drum against his ribs. A cold sweat prickled his entire body. His hands began to shake uncontrollably on the handlebars, the bike swerving slightly. His survival instinct screamed at him. Fight. Flee. Do something. In those terrifying, elongated seconds, a desperate struggle began. A frantic push, a panicked shove. In those seconds, the bike lost its delicate balance, wobbling violently. In those seconds, everything went silent. Morning came, painting the sky with the gentle pastels of a new day. But Kevin didn't. At home, his mother waited. The tea she had made for him grew cold on the small table. She called his phone, again and again, each unanswered ring, a spike of panic in her heart. By mid-morning, the panic had turned to dread. Later, a neighbor brought the news. His helmet, cracked and dusty, had been found by the side of that lonely road. At the Bodavoda stage, a somber quiet had replaced the usual morning chaos. The riders stood in small, silent groups. There were no loud jokes, no haggling over fares, no engines revving impatiently. There was just a heavy blanket of grief and a single sentence, passed from one rider to another in hushed, broken Swahili. Alikuwa anajaribu kufika nyumbani. He was just trying to get home. Kevin wasn't chasing riches. He wasn't a thrill seeker, he wasn't reckless, and he wasn't careless. His only ambition that night was survival, the simple, fundamental need to provide for his family and make it to the safety of his own bed. He was just trying to survive, just trying to get home. And yet, that one last decision, a choice made under the immense pressure of necessity, became the razor-thin line between tomorrow and never again. The difference between a mother's hug and a lifetime of heartbreak. Life doesn't always warn us with a shout. Sometimes it whispers. And it waits for us to listen. If you're tired truly, deeply tired dressed, if something feels wrong in your gut, if that quiet inner voice tells you to walk away, listen to it. No amount of money is worth your life. No fare is worth the finality of an empty chair at the dinner table. Because someone, somewhere, is waiting for you to come home. He was just trying to get home. And that's why this hurts so much.